Sunni theology, Aqeedah, is historically defined by three main orthodox schools: Ashari, Maturidi, and Athari. These schools share the same core fundamentals, but use different methodological approaches to articulate and defend the faith against philosophical skepticism and differing sects. The development of these traditions, along with the foundational scholars behind them, includes the following.
The Ashari School, founded by Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, 873 to 935 CE. This school originated when he broke away from the hyper-rationalist Mu'tazila sect. He established a middle path, Kalam, that heavily relied on revelation but used systematic rational arguments to defend religious scripture. This school developed as a middle ground between rationalists who prioritized logic and traditionalists who prioritized strict literalism.
The Ash'ari contrast, revelation establishes morality. The concept. Ash'aris take a voluntarist approach. They argue that an action is not inherently good or bad on its own. Instead, it becomes good or bad solely because God declares it to be so. While it relies heavily on revelation, it utilizes rational arguments to defend core beliefs. Ash'aris often engage in metaphorical interpretation, ta'wil, to maintain God's absolute transcendence. The role of intellect. The human mind cannot independently determine objective moral truth before revelation arrives. If God commanded lying, lying would become morally good. The consequence? For Ash'aris, right and wrong are strictly defined by divine decree, not human rational deduction.
While it developed over time, its key foundational figures and traditionalist scholars include Al-Baqillani, died in 1013 CE. He further systematized the school's philosophical underpinnings. Al-Juwayni, died in 1085 CE. He is known as the Imam of the two sanctuaries. He refined the rational methodology. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, died in 1111 CE. He played a vital role in integrating and popularizing Ash'ari theology. Fakhr ad-Din al-Razi, died in 1210 CE. He brought complex, advanced philosophical logic into Ash'ari theology. Followers. It is widely embraced across the Arab world, Southeast Asia, much of Africa, and by followers of the Shafi'i and Maliki schools of jurisprudence.
The Maturidi School, founded by Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, died in 944 CE in Transoxiana, Central Asia. The school emerged to defend mainstream Sunni doctrine alongside the rationalistic approach of the Hanafi school of law. It shares the core beliefs of the Ash'aris, but differs on a few nuances regarding free will, the nature of divine attributes, and how human reason perceives God before revelation. This school shares many similarities with Ash'arism, but leans slightly more toward using human reason to understand theological concepts.
The Maturidi view: reason discerns, revelation validates. The concept. Maturidis argue that things are inherently good or bad, and God commands or forbids them because of that intrinsic nature. Maturidis argue that the human intellect can comprehend the fundamental moral truths of right and wrong using reasoning to understand and deduce. The role of intellect. The human mind, Aql, is powerful enough to look at actions like justice, honesty, and cruelty and independently figure out that justice is objectively good and cruelty is objectively evil. The caveat. While the intellect can deduce moral truths, Maturidis believe that human reason is still limited and cannot deduce everything. Therefore, divine revelation, the Quran and Sunnah, is absolutely necessary to validate these morals, provide specific details, and outline practical laws, like how to perform ritual prayers.
While it developed over time, its key foundational figures and traditionalist scholars include Abu Hanifa, died 767 CE, the original founder of the Hanafi school. His early legal and theological rationalism heavily influenced Maturidi's systemic framework. Abu al-Yusr al-Pazdawi, died 1100 CE, major systematicizer of the creed. Najm ad-Din al-Nasafi, known for al-Aqeedah al-Nasafiyya, one of the most studied foundational texts in the school.
The Athari, or textualist school. The Athari school, or Atharism, was not founded by a single individual. Rather, it evolved organically among the early Ahlul Hadith, the people of Hadith, in the late 8th and early 9th centuries as a direct textualist response to speculative theology, Kalam. The Athari, or traditionalist approach, emphasizes a strict literal interpretation of the Quran and authentic Hadith, while completely rejecting speculative philosophy, Kalam. They affirm the attributes of God exactly as they appear in religious text. The Athari school directly rejects the Maturidi view that human intellect can independently deduce moral truths. From the Athari perspective, revelation, the Quran and Sunnah, is the sole and absolute source for determining what is fundamentally right, ma'ruf, and wrong, munkar.
The Athari view, reason versus revelation in morality. Intellectual limitation. Atharis argue that human reason is inherently flawed, subjective, and limited. No independent authority. The human mind cannot cross into the realm of the unseen, ghaib, or determine ultimate objective morality without divine guidance. Intellectual subservience. Reason is a tool to understand God's laws, not a lawmaker to create or deduce them.
While it developed over time, its key foundational figures and traditionalist scholars include Ahmad ibn Hanbal, died 855 CE, the pivotal founder of the Hanbali legal school, known for his firm stance and opposition to speculative theologians during the Mehna, or Inquisition. Ibn Taymiyyah, died 1328 CE, a major scholar who rigorously defended and elaborated the Athari theology, critiquing later Hellenistic philosophical frameworks. Followers of Athari school, highly influential historically among Hanbali scholars and a foundational element for contemporary Salafi theology.